What do you do when the FOMO monster hits you? That is the question that I've been asked by a couple of subscribers that have gotten themselves into a little bit of a situation where they've overpaid for some comics and they wanted my advice. The first piece of advice that I would offer anybody that has been impacted by FOMO is to not panic. It is going to be okay, trust me. And in this video, we're going to talk a little more about it. Stay tuned. Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. As I mentioned in that brief intro, the fear of missing out is a real emotion. It is a real thing, and we have all succumbed to it from time to time. And so in this video, what I want to do is to offer up some tips and pointers on like how you manage through getting impacted by FOMO. And again, as I mentioned, the first thing is to not panic, right? Like, if you haven't really gotten yourself into a tough situation where you've paid something and you cannot pay a bill or cover some other type of expense in like your real life, it's not that disastrous, right? But with that said, you have to ask yourself, how did you overpay? Was it purposeful or was it accidental? If it's purposeful, that's something that's manageable, right? You went into that situation knowing that you were overpaying, and you probably overpaid because you really wanted the book, or whatever you paid for wasn't a material amount of money to the point where it would impact other things that are happening in your life. Purposefully overpaying for something is okay, right? Especially if you're only doing it occasionally. If you're doing it all the time, that's a whole nother thing. But if you overpaid accidentally, that too is another thing. And you have to ask yourself, how did you do that? How did you put yourself in a position where you were paying a lot more for something than you otherwise should have? Oftentimes that happens when people look at a book, they look at what it's being sold for, they pull up their app or their bank account or whatever it is, and they recognize that they have that amount of money, and boom, that's where the magic gets made. But in my mind, that's not the right way to actually buy a comic. You have to take some time to reference some data. Look at eBay sold items. Ideally, you're looking at a pricing app, and you can actually look at what is this comic selling for? What is its fair market value? What is the trend with this book? Is it going up? Is it going down? What's happening with this book? You have to take the time to reference the data so that you can go into the situation with your eyes wide open. Now, if you're talking about $20, $30, I don't know that that's material, but if you're talking hundreds or thousands, accidentally overpaying could not be the right situation. So slow it down and try to ask yourself some tough questions. How did you get yourself into the situation? And again, if you accidentally did it, then that's a situation you can manage through, right? There is some corrective actions that you can take for the next situation. But let's say that we're just dealing with, you overpaid for this book, you've recognized that it's an accidental thing or a purposeful thing, and you're evaluating, what do I do now, right? Potentially, you just hold the book. Potentially, if you've overpaid, you just hold it. I've had some people say, should I sell the book now that the value has dropped, right? If I've overpaid for it and the value has dropped, should I sell it? You could do that, right? You could do that, but you're also now locking in that loss, right? If the book was, let's just say you paid $1,000 for it, and now the value has dropped to $700 or something like that. If you sold it, you're going to get hit with fees for selling and shipping and all that other kind of stuff. And you're essentially locking in that loss. Alternatively, you could just hold the comic because, and I don't know that people think about this, but comic book values fluctuate. Within a given year, or even within a given month, the value of a comic can fluctuate up and down. And that's influenced by lots of things, by demand, by what's happening in the market, by the popularity of the character, right? There's a lot of factors that could influence that fluctuation in value. So if you decided to hold the book, there is a chance that that value could go from 7 to 8, get a little bit closer to that $1,000 that you paid. And if you take a step back and you look at what you've done and you realize that you really do like this comic, potentially you hold on to it, right? You hold on to it because it might actually be a really good book, setting aside the value entirely, right? It might just be a good book and you take it as a learning lesson, that delta that you've now created because you overpaid and its value has dropped. Again, you could also sell it, but now you've locked in what you've already done. So you have some decisions to kind of make as to how you want to manage through that situation. Another thing that you have to consider again is, how did you get yourself into this situation? I personally don't do auctions, and I don't do auctions because I'm very competitive, and if I see that I'm losing out on something, I will hit that bid higher button a couple of extra times to try to make sure that I get that book. But as a result of that, I'm no longer thinking. I'm no longer thinking about the value of the book and you know what the fair market value for the book might be. I'm looking at trying to win, right? And so I know that with my personality, doing auctions might not be the best thing for me. So I try to steer clear of auctions, and I try to go after more, you know, buy it now type of books where I can put in an offer and have that person accept it or decline it, versus the competitiveness that comes along with an auction. Another thing that I've realized about myself is that if I get the alerts on my phone for books that are being sold or even for that auction, I'm drawn in even more, right? And I'm paying closer attention to like what's actually happening. And so I've realized that putting apps on my phone that give me alerts about things that are being sold also is not an ideal situation for me, right? I've realized that if I sit down at a computer and I'm looking at the values of the book and I'm thinking through what I'm actually doing, that I'm more likely to make a better decision versus if I'm just getting that "you've been outbid" message on the app on my phone, right? So you have to look at how you got yourself into the situation and try to figure out how can you prevent this from happening in the future. And because a lot of folks will have repetitive behaviors, and if you're constantly overpaying for something, whether it's purposeful or accidental, that might not be the best use of your funds. Now, if you have all the money in the world, do what you want to do. But if you're like most people, you need to be smarter about the things that you're doing, and you need to take precautions to be able to slow yourself down so you can make the best and most informed decision about how you actually want to spend your money. So my hope is that in this video, I've offered up a couple of things for people to think about, for you to consider. At the end of the day, it's your money, right? How you spend it is on you, but I wanted to at least offer this up to the few people that have asked about it, but then also those that may be in the situation but just haven't found the time to send me a message about it. But my hope is that there's something here that can help you. With that said, we're going to wrap this video up. I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, I definitely want to encourage you to give the video a thumbs up. If you've been in a FOMO situation, I am curious, how did you handle it? Down in the comment section, let me know your thoughts. And if you want to reach out to me, you can do it on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.
Turn me up in my headphones a little bit, like I want to feel it, I want to hear it. All right, that's it right there. I spoke. When the sun rise, till it's burned out. No place to recharge, so we gotta learn how. Conversations with OGs that got dreams that never worked out, so they become masters of dream analysis. They come in the form of barbers and schizos. Warhead with a big nose with his lip.